people are almost, downright frightened or scared to see where they actually stand in the retirement journey or in the process of trying to figure out how to get to retirement and what that will look like. That's why actually doing a plan is so crucial. It's so important to stay on track and try to ensure yourself a successful retirement. Financial planning doesn't have to be scary. I think what's scarier is making no decision, which is a decision, to not do a financial plan and to not understand where you are and be able to give yourself the ability to say, okay, well, if we do some different work in some different areas and if we make some adjustments, how will that impact my longevity and my retirement planning and allow me to have a much more successful outcome in my retirement years? Hello and welcome back to Retire Stronger. This is episode 38. I'm John Foard. I'm your host, and I'm here with my semi-permanent co-host, Bill Kearney. Bill, say hello to everyone.
Hey, John, I'm only semi-permanent. What episode have I not been on?
Exactly. So we're still evaluating, Bill. We're still evaluating whether or not this is going to work out for all of us.
I understand. It's probably a smart move.
All jokes aside, welcome back. It's good to be on another episode with you. And today, Bill, we're going to talk about a topic that seems to be, I don't know, it can be a little bit polarizing sometimes. And I think some of the clients we work with and have worked with over the years, when they first hear the term, they get a little nervous. They're not sure exactly what is going to be involved. They're not sure exactly what they're going to be required to do to participate in how it all works and the process behind what it is we're going to talk about today, which is retirement planning and doing actual financial planning so that we can have the best possible outcome for retirement. And I think that, what we're going to cover today in today's episode are a few things here. Why retirement planning is so important in order to stay on track for retirement, how financial planning is crucial to maintain proper tax optimization and lead to better outcomes during your retirement years. We're also going to talk about, end-of-year planning, especially end-of-year tax planning, and what that looks like from a planner's point of view, and things that you should be thinking about as a client. And then I know we're also going to talk about an actual real live client example of kind of things we've worked on with this client from the financial planning aspect of things, the tax optimization piece, all of that. So I know that that's kind of what we have on tab for today, and I'm excited to dive in. So Bill, why don't we just do that? Why don't we just dive in and we talk about why financial planning is so important in order for you to stay on track for a successful retirement?
I know we're going to try and keep this to about 20 to 25 minutes or so. That's what we typically do. And I was thinking through this, and that question alone could give you about 25 different reasons, and each of those reasons could be their own 20 to 25 minute podcast. So we're going to try and keep that part of this, I guess, high level. But I think in thinking through this, I was trying to come up with what are some of the major reasons why this matters to people, or why it should matter to people. And I think one of the top reasons we see is that people are just living longer now than they did a generation or two generations ago, which means they've got to make their money last for 20 to 30 years after working. Inflation, right? We're all dealing with inflation. That's eroding people's purchasing power. So it's becoming more difficult to stretch your funds and to just know they're going to last long enough, right? So sitting down and planning this out helps you figure out, well, am I going to come up short? Certainly, most people probably realize at this point that Social Security isn't going to cover everything that they need in retirement. It's part of it. It's a good part of it, but it's not going to cover for most people their expenses. So they're going to have to pull income and pull money from other sources. How do you do that? What are the best ways to do that? Taxes, which we're going to talk about, can significantly erode, all of your assets in different ways. So, I mean, that's 4 or 5. I could come up probably with 10 more, John. Those are all reasons. And I'll just cap it with this. All of those reasons, what they do is they erode your peace of mind during retirement. right? Because if you don't
100%.
have the answers on how to put the pieces together, where to pull income from, what are the best methods, and how to be efficient in doing that, it's going to erode your peace of mind. And ultimately, that's what putting a plan together does. It helps to rebuild that peace of mind aspect that you're seeking.
I could not agree more. And I think that that's part of the problem too for some folks, is that they just want to bury their head in the sand and not take any action because, I mean, how many times have you heard it? I'm afraid to see what the numbers are going to tell me, John. I'm afraid of what we're going to see when you do the plan, Bill. You know, people are legitimately afraid, really, to do the work necessary to figure out where they are in that starting point. You know, like actually put the numbers down on paper, pen and paper, so to speak. I know we don't use a lot of pen and paper anymore these days, but you know what I'm getting at here, Bill, is that people are almost, well, downright frightened or scared to see where they actually stand in the retirement journey or in the process of trying to figure out how to get to retirement and what that will look like. And I think that that's why actually doing a plan is so crucial. It's so important to stay on track and you know, try to ensure yourself a successful retirement. So yeah, everything you said, 100% agree with. And I think that, you know, we just want to emphasize, folks, that financial planning doesn't have to be scary. I think what's scarier is making no decision, which is a decision, to not do a financial plan and to not understand where you are and be able to give yourself the ability to say, okay, well, if we do some different work in some different areas and if we make some adjustments, how will that impact my longevity and my retirement planning and allow me to have a much more successful outcome in my retirement years? And, you know, we brought it up before, kind of the few bullet points of things we wanted to talk about today. And that one of them was taxes, which you just mentioned. So let's kind of talk through like how financial planning is crucial in maintaining a proper tax optimization strategy. Because Bill, I don't know how you feel about it, and I think you're about to tell the crowd listening today, but there's no way to do proper tax optimization planning if we do not understand what your actual financial picture looks like. And the only way to do that is by doing a financial plan. And I think you would agree, but I'd love to hear your take on that. So let's talk about that and why it's so crucial to maintain a financial plan in order to have proper tax optimization.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to kind of circumvent what you're wanting to talk about at this exact point, John, but I'm going to go back to something real quick because there's one really big reason we left out as to why people don't create a financial plan.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the biggest reason out there is that people don't know who to trust.
Oh, great point.
It's very difficult to know who to trust in our field. I'll give you an example. We're trying to do some home renovations here at our house. One of the biggest things that is keeping us from starting that project is not even necessarily the financial impact, which will be probably significant and not pleasant, but really the biggest part is not knowing who to trust to do the renovations properly. And ultimately, that's what we do. When we come into the picture for folks, we are kind of creating a financial renovation. Through everything that they've done so far, we are the ones that are coming in and putting all of those pieces on the table and then showing them where there might be good things and bad things about where they currently are. And that, yeah, as you said, that could be a bit of a scary thing. But then again, who do you trust to do this? Who has the quality and expertise to do that? We feel like we do, obviously. I mean, we do feel like we're that way. We're not the only ones out there. But there's all these stories that do scare people, that do frighten people, that they read about in the newspaper probably on a weekly basis about some type of financial scheme that's out there or someone that's been taken advantage of. And certainly that can cause paralysis in this whole process. So analyzing that is probably the most critical step, figuring out who you can trust. And that's why really you need to meet with a number of different financial people to determine who you actually can trust. You'll know it when you're in the meeting with them if you can trust them. Just trust your gut. Your gut will tell you if you can trust that person.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I do appreciate you circling back to hit that point because, yeah, if you don't feel confident with who you're working with, then it doesn't matter what the numbers say. It doesn't matter the work that's being done. Then, you know, the trust isn't there. And the trust has to be there for you to be able to feel confident about what you're doing. So I love that point. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. And to go back to what you're asking about is why, you know, and how financial planning is critical to tax optimization. Well, I don't know, John, when the last time was you read the 77,000 pages in the IRS tax code. Didn't you say you finished that like a month or so ago, reading through all of that?
Yeah, but they just added more to it. So now I've got to go get caught up again.
That's exactly right. So we get to read through all of that. I know most people have never even looked through the IRS code, but it is so critical in financial planning because ultimately what we see very often, it's not a guarantee. We wouldn't make a guarantee in this area, but for many people, taxes are going to be the most expensive part of funding your retirement. And the way the tax code is set up, your accounts are structured in such a way almost to be inefficient in retirement. It's almost like it was set up this way. I don't know if it was or not, John. I don't know if the government would do that to folks, but it kind of seems that way. Or at least it seems like things aren't in the most efficient order. And there is an efficient order. There is an efficient balance that you can achieve or that you can be striving towards with your finances to look towards tax optimization. And we joke about the 77,000 pages in the tax code. No, we haven't read them. We don't know everything that's in there, but we have financial tools that help us with that. Some of our programmers go in on a daily basis and review that and update the tools that we use to help with that. And so that gives us the confidence to know when we put a scenario in front of people, we can show them where they are today, and we can show them how tax optimization and the different steps they can take in those areas can ultimately help them or put them on a path to reduce what their projected tax picture looks like in time. And it's critical because this could mean the difference in retiring now or retiring 5, 6, 7, 8 years from now because of the inefficiencies in your current plan.
Yeah, and everyone's different too. Let's point that out. The fact that, there's no cookie cutter approach here. Everyone's situation is going to be different. And that's why for us as financial planners, it's so important for us to have, the proper amount of data, correct data, as the old adage goes, garbage in, garbage out. We need to have correct, proper data in your financial plan for us to be able to analyze your personal situation. There's no cookie cutter approach here. There's no one size fits all scenario when you're talking about tax optimization planning, because what may work for couple A over here may not work for couple B over there. And so it's again, I know that having to go through the process, if you've never done it before, it can be daunting, and it probably will be a little bit time consuming at first. But once you get the plan in place and the data is accurate and you can start running some different scenarios, it is amazing what the different information that can be presented and the different ways you can go about, making different ideas work for you and into the future to help your plan become that much more successful. And so it's so critical to do, to make sure you have a plan in place, and there's no other way to do it and do proper tax planning and tax optimization planning. You just can't, in our opinion. But so what does that look like, Bill, from our perspective? Like, what are we doing, especially right now? We're getting towards the end of the year here. I think we're recording this. Today is December 1st, so we're in the final month of 2025. What are we looking to do with our clients' financial planning and the different steps that we go through? And what should clients out there and people out there be thinking about needing to do and needing to accomplish prior to year end? Talk about that, some year-end tax planning ideas.
Yep. So some of the year-end tax things that we're doing, and we're really kind of in what we would consider Roth conversion season. We're doing a lot of those analyses, if you will, for our clients. And as a matter of fact, as a firm, we've actually changed our calendar so that we have a specific calendar available to our clients to schedule meetings specifically regarding Roth conversions and the calculations and the math and all that goes into that. So basically from middle of November until middle of December, that's basically what we're working on, is the Roth conversion piece for folks. So there's a lot that goes into that. But what's exciting about that is that this is actually where the rubber meets the road from all of the planning work that you do with someone. This is a major step as far as tax optimization. And you've shown somebody the 10,000 foot view on, okay, well, here's what it looks like if we implement a tax optimized plan, well, this part of the calendar is actually when we're doing the hard work to do that part of it. And so that's what...
Yeah, it's one thing to just tell them what they need to do, but we actually have to start implementing the plan as well, is what you're saying.
Exactly right. And kind of goes back a little bit to what we talked about, I guess, in our previous episode with redline planning, right? That's kind of a starting point to show people, hey, you've got a problem out in the future. It looks like you're going to have a problem out in the future. Warning sign, red flashing light, right? Let's start there. Let's fix the red line. And the red line is simply when you're going to run out of money. But let's assume that you're not going to run out of money, or you fix the plan and you're not going to run out of money based on the projections. Now we're talking about, well, okay, so how do we optimize the plan that's not going to run out of money? Because oftentimes when we fix the plan, if you will, where we don't run out of money, we create another plan where the IRS steps in and takes a larger chunk because you're doing better and better and better with your investments. That's what this part is all about. So Roth conversion season, because Roth conversions are a big component to what we do for tax optimization. John, would you kind of give the 5,000-foot view on what a Roth conversion actually is for those who don't know?
Yeah, absolutely, Bill. So for those of you that are listening that don't really or haven't done much work with a planner or don't understand quite exactly what a Roth conversion is, what we're doing here is we are taking a portion or all of your traditional IRA funds that is sitting in a traditional IRA that is pre-tax, so it hasn't been taxed yet. Or it could also come from a traditional 401k plan as well. So you can do a direct, Roth conversion rollover out of that as well. But we're taking those funds that have never been taxed before, and it could be a small portion or all of it, like I mentioned prior, and you're moving it from that pre-tax state that it's in right now inside an IRA or 401k plan, and you're moving it into a Roth IRA, and you're paying taxes on it in the year that you do the conversion. So if you have, let's just make it easy math here. If you have $100,000 that you want to convert from a pre-tax status to a tax-free status, meaning going from a traditional IRA to a Roth IRA, when you take that $100,000 and move it into the Roth, you're now going to be reporting an additional $100,000 in income on your tax return, and you will owe taxes on it in the year that you actually did the conversion. So when you're talking about that, and folks that are listening out there, when you're hearing Bill say that we're kind of in Roth conversion planning season, we are working through a lot of intricate detail with respect to a client's income situation, their overall tax bill, what this might do for IRMA if you're already retired. So there's a lot that goes into doing Roth conversion planning. So this isn't something that you can just snap a finger and it's done, and you just say, I'm going to convert 100,000, I'm going to pay my taxes on it, and it's over with. There's a lot of implications that go into making this decision and executing on this plan. So I wanted to make that very clear. But again, not everyone's situation is exactly the same. So this is why I made such a big deal a few minutes ago, is that there's no cookie cutter approach here. So be careful. If this is something that interests you, you think you may want to look at this as a planning piece, again, find someone you trust, find someone who knows what they're doing, and work through the plan in a methodical way to make sure that this is the right decision for you. So just leave it at that. But I think I answered your question, Bill. Did you want to add anything to that?
Nope, you nailed it. I love it. That's exactly what we're talking about doing. And again, it's calendar specific. We like to wait till the end of the year because we have most of the data is in, right? It's kind of like election night at 11 o'clock. Most of the data is in from people, so we know what we have and what we're working with. Most of their income data for the year is in. We've still got about a month or so left, but we got a pretty good idea of where we are. And it helps us kind of get a picture of, okay, well, which tax bucket are we in? How much do we have left in a particular tax bracket that we can use for a Roth conversion, right? And let's say that we're on the bottom end of the 24% bucket. We just tipped into that with all other income. Well, we might have another $100,000 in that particular tax bracket that we can use for a Roth conversion. So those are the kind of conversations that we're having with people. Because remember, our program is going to spit out a optimized plan. It's going to tell you, okay, this is exactly what you should take over the next 5 years. but it doesn't know exactly what the events are on the ground year by year. So we sort of rerun the analysis every year, and then we come in as human beings and make some intelligent decisions on what we want to do and how we want to actually do the Roth conversion for that particular year with clients.
Yeah, well said. Absolutely. So these are some of the things we're doing and working on for end-of-year planning, especially end-of-year tax planning. And I know you had a client of ours that you wanted to kind of talk through a little bit, some high-level planning that we are actually doing for this client. This client looks very similar to a lot of our clients. They come to us with a lot of the similar concerns, similar questions, similar things they need to have worked on for their financial plan. So I'll kick it back to you and just take it away on the client example, and let's kind of go through a nice high-level kind of discussion around what we're doing for this client.
Yeah, we can call this John and Jane Smith if you want. We'll kind of change the names to protect the innocent here, so we're not giving away any personal information. But you know the funny thing about this, John, we have all these elaborate tools. I mean, if folks could see where I'm sitting, I have 3 monitors in front of me. I'm obviously looking at one of them, and with 2 other monitors, all this technology around me. I've got a desk that stands up if I wanted to. And do you know where I started this particular part of this Roth conversion?
Tell me.
On a piece of paper. On a piece of paper. Look at all the scribble on here.
So
this is where we started.
Pen and paper after all.
Really did. And the interesting thing with this one is what happened. The reason it happened this way is our clients are very savvy. And we find that once people get plugged into tools that they can use with us as far as planning, that they become very engaged and they get excited around this time of year when they know it's time to do their Roth conversion, and they kind of get ahead of us a little bit and start doing some income calculations and things like that, which I love because we're really talking on the same language level and we really get a lot of good things done that way. So this particular client, what did I call him? John and Jane Smith. Is that what I said?
It is.
Is that right? Okay. So I was speaking with John Smith, and he called and he said, all right, I've got some stats for you. And I was just trying to find something to write on because he just started spitting numbers out at me. But this is how kind of interesting this was. So he said, look, we've got $66,000 this year in Social Security income. Okay. We have 1099 income, which is like interest income, right, on savings accounts. And they have a note receivable. So there's a little bit of that in there. They have $30,000 in that sort of income. They had rental income that showed a loss of $10,000 on a couple of different properties for a couple of different reasons. Could be its own podcast to explain what that's all about. This particular client is a builder, and he showed a $6,000 loss, not because he's not a good builder. He's actually an excellent builder, one of the best builders out there. It just so happened with some of the tax advantages that came through the big, beautiful bill this year that he was able to take advantage of. He was able to show a loss in that part of his business. He had some capital gains losses from some investments that he had. And then what he was doing was he was showing enough income so that he could make a contribution to a Roth account. And he was showing enough income so that he could take the deduction for healthcare expenses as a self-employed person. And he had totaled everything up and came up with a number and said, okay, I think based on that number, I'd overpaid last year with the IRS. I still have some money sitting there. I'm going to do a $100,000 conversion like we talked about, and I won't have to pay anything because of all of these calculations I've done. I said, hey, this is excellent. But I can't agree with you just yet. I need to be able to plug this into our system.
Right.
I need to plug it into your plan. I need to make sure that we analyze this because there's some things you need to know about that might change the way this is calculated. And to do that, actually had to get the team together, right? And get 3 heads in the room to say, okay, what is the best way to input this? Because we've got income, we've got losses, we've got capital gains, we've got capital losses. And then we've got all of these different deductions that are in place now with the big, beautiful bill. So we worked through that. It took about an hour to get through all of that. We figured out that actually the client had miscalculated by about $15,000 what they would have to pay. And it was $15,000 to the bad side. Now, so I went back to the client, shared all that with him. He said, hey, this is amazing. I can see here on the screen, you put in exactly what I told you and done it exactly correct, but I didn't know about 1, 2, and 3 when I was doing my calculations. And I said, so it's a $15,000 difference. I said, so what do you want to do? We could decrease your conversion. We could do this. He said, no, let's keep the conversion the way it is, but I'm very comfortable now knowing that I've got the correct data, and that's the way we'll do the plan. So, John, that's the example there where you have to really put pen to paper, right? And you've got to do the calculations and have really good tools to help you do those calculations so that you know you're actually using the right numbers. We might have withheld the wrong amount for that client, right?
Or he might have likes a surprise tax bill, right? No one likes a surprise tax bill.
Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that.
So we were able to help the client see a more clear picture of where they actually are versus where they thought they were. And working with our team, working with the tax professional, working with our planning software, our expertise as financial planners, and then having that, heart to heart, so to speak, with the client and tell them, hey, you were incorrect with the data and here's why, and let us show it to you. Let us walk you through it. And let's make it a better informed decision for your situation. And we, like you said, we gave them the option. We can lower the amount that we convert to help minimize that taxable impact. But the client was fully prepared to pay that bill, but I think he would have been less prepared to pay for it if he didn't know it was coming. And that is the key, I think one of the key elements of this conversation that we're having today with this example is this client would not have known if we would not have done the proper planning in order to show him where the numbers actually pan out. And so again,
John, let's clarify something here. too. Sorry to interrupt you, but I want to make sure folks know that this is the difference, I believe, in a lot of financial planning out there, is doing this level of detail work with clients. Financial planning is not just managing assets, right? That's a big component with what we do for folks. It's a big component. Managing portfolios, doing all that type of work. But this is where we feel like the value add really should be in our field, is actually doing this type of longevity planning for people. And that's what tax planning and tax optimization really is longevity planning for people. And so for this client here, when they came to us, they were just having their assets managed and they said they had a financial planner. And this is not to tear anyone down. People have different business models and different ways that they do things. But I think true financial planning actually is a bit more holistic in nature and kind of gets down in the mud and writes things down on the paper and draws it out and figures out how to make this work in a bit more detail than simply just managing the assets and then moving on to the next year kind of thing.
Yep. Or clients get this big, thick 300-page document that they get handed to them one time and it never gets updated. It never gets reviewed. And a lot of times, probably more often than not, we have seen that the action items that are in that plan don't ever get executed either. And so those are the things that I think are so important in what we're trying to convey today. And I think we've done a pretty good job of walking people through why we think financial planning is so key and what it's like working with a firm like us and why the details matter and why running different scenarios matter, and the fact that not every two clients are the same. There's no cookie cutter approach here. And then, Bill, let's go back to your point from earlier, trust. It's so key. You have to be able to feel good about who you're working with and be able to trust that what they're telling you and the advice that they're giving you is good, it's accurate and well thought out. And we're not just using random numbers and flying by the seat of our pants here. This is hard work, and we love what we do. Now, folks, you may be sitting there thinking it's already December and it might be too late to do anything for this year, to start planning, start thinking about doing some tax planning especially. But what I'll tell you is it's not. It's never too late to start planning. Bill, I know you agree with that. So folks, again, if you are interested and excited about what you've heard today and you want to see what your situation looks like from a financial planning standpoint, please reach out to us. Give us a call, 704-469-0200, or again, shoot us an email at info@crownadvisorgroup.com or hit that schedule button on our website at crownadvisorgroup.com. Again, we appreciate your time. Hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.